Will Peter Parker and Boomerang's treasure hunt be cut short by an extraterrestrial force? Well, let's hop into the pages of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 42 and find out together, shall we? So, picking up from where the last issue left off, Spider-Man and Boomerang, new best friends, were hot on the trail of the Lifeline tablet, a magical artifact sought by the Kingpin to try and make himself immortal. They were closing in on one of the final pieces when they ended up getting attacked by a massive alien monster, who I incorrectly in the last video called Krakatoom, who is also a giant Spider-Man monster, but no, this guy is Gog, an even older giant Spider-Man monster. In fact, he's so old, Boomerang basically becomes the voice of the modern reader and say, hey, I don't remember this guy, where he's from, like the 70s or something? Yes, in fact, yes he is. Why, whether you knew it or not, Gog has actually had a long and storied history with the web slinger, but don't take Peter's word for it, not when you can get the story directly from the monster's mouth. You see, as Gog tells us throughout the rest of the issue in wonderfully childlike broken alien speech, he was actually sold as a pet. You see, his species can sometimes grow to be incredibly large and used as warring shock troopers, but in this situation he was actually given to a young prince. The two formed a very fast, very loving boy and his dog style relationship that got shattered when the boy's planet ended up falling into war. Also, despite these aliens being blue-skinned aliens, they are almost certainly not Kree. Again, I don't know why they went with blue when that's already so confusing in the Marvel cosmology. Gog and the prince would end up getting separated, and Gog's ship would fall to Earth, where it would land in the Savage Lands. It's here most Spider-Man readers remember the character, if they remember him at all. You see, Gog was found by Kraven the Hunter, who took him in as his own, trained him, got him all big and strong, and eventually turned him on Spider-Man. Spider-Man would defeat Kraven the Hunter and leave Gog trapped in some quicksand, which, you know, is pretty tragic from his point of view because, again, mind of a child, mind of a dog. Gog would be alone for a very long time until he eventually was snatched up by white suit wearing Dr. Octopus of all people, who needed some extra muscle for his version of the Sinister Six. An angry Gog relished at the opportunity to get some revenge on Spider-Man, and once that fight was done, Spidey and Mr. Fantastic actually took sympathy on the poor creature. Knowing that this isn't his world, that Earth changed him for the worst, and that way too many bad people took advantage of his loyal nature, because of that, Mr. Fantastic shrunk Gog down to his original size and sent him back home. Unfortunately, when Gog gets back home, he realizes that the war that split him and his beloved prince up is still going on. In fact, the prince is on the front lines now as a soldier. The two are very tearily reunited for a moment, and it's genuinely really sweet before it becomes genuinely tragic as a bomb ends up killing the prince, leaving Gog alone once again. But wait, you might be asking yourself, what does any of this have to do with Earth or the Lifeline tablet? Oh, well, this is where things actually get quite clever. You see, the whole reason this war flared up again is because everyone was fighting over the Lifeline tablet. The tablet had come to the planet when it fell through a magical portal, probably the exact same magical portal that Doctor Strange had created back in the day. The prince's mother, seeing full well just how much destruction and heartbreak the tablet can bring, shatters it into many pieces and sends it back to Earth to be hidden. She also sends Gog with it, saying that he will have to make it his life's mission to make sure that no one can reassemble all the pieces, and well, yeah, that pretty much explains how we're here now. Of course, Spider-Man and Boomerang don't know any of this tragic backstory. They just think Gog is another big roided up monster trying to kill them, and they continue to think that as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Amazing Spider-Man issue number 42, everybody, and honestly, it reminds me a lot of those Hunted one-shots that Nick Spencer did, mainly because they're really well done one-and-done stories with a real tragic undercurrent that shines a light on an obscure, mostly forgotten part of the Spider-Man mythos, in this case Gog, and shows you that they're actually a lot more deeper and a lot more interesting than you first thought, but at the same time, this story is still ultimately pretty damn skippable in the greater scheme of things. I know not everyone is like me, and not everyone is such an easy lay for stories about D-list supervillains and monsters, but for what it's worth, this one definitely hit all my buttons. I would give this one a 7.5 out of 10. You know, sometimes it's nice to feel like Nick Spencer is writing stories just for me and people like me. Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.